Ahmaud Arbery. I'll wait for some people to get on and talk about the Ahmaud Arbery case. What we know, figured out. I'm a little tired. A lot of tired. But I want to talk about what we have figured out, what the police have said, because there has been changes. There has been changes to the case. There has been changes to the case. As is always the case when you start digging and you don't really say anything until you have some evidence come out. You don't make sound decisions, until you have more evidence, and then you go, this is what I think is going to happen. So I'm at the point where this is what I think is going to happen. Of course, the case is nowhere near being finished. All the investigative work. I don't know all the investigative work. I don't live in that city. And although I'm following the story, I'm not following the story like a newsie. I'm not a newsie. I'm not making money off of this. I don't really. It's just, I'm just going to say what I think. So I said before in the 3 hours that when we talked about this, I said before that I strongly believe that those guys who did this are in big trouble. Because, and I don't know the stand your ground laws, I do not own a weapon. But I know you can't perpetuate a situation and then claim self-defense. I know this. Let's see if you guys can hear me. You can't start a situation and then say, oh, it's self-defense. I don't even know if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? So yeah, you can't do that. I'm hoping you guys can hear me. So you can't start a situation and then go get your guns and then stop a person, get in front of them, impede them. Like, you cannot do that. Look, that's almost kidnapping. You can't get in front of somebody and say, you're not going anywhere. You can't do that for one. And then you can't legally do that with a weapon in hand. Now, you're allowed to have your weapon on you. But when you have your weapon in hand, out of your car, in there, blocking them, and you've already followed them, and you blocked them before. So you blocked them more than once. When we see it is the second time you blocked them. So this kid knew he wasn't going anywhere, or he's not a kid, but he's 25 years old. But they blocked him off twice. There was 3 men who had guns. He was unarmed. And so he attacked the son who was standing outside of the truck with a gun in hand. I mean, it was pretty much a wrap for him, But still, they tried to say that he stole, all this equipment and fishing, and there is no record. Let's get to the facts, because people are like, oh, he stole all this stuff. Still no reason to kill the man. It's $2,500 worth of stuff is no reason to shoot and kill somebody. I understand you're upset, but this is why you call the police. The dispatcher said, when they said there's a guy, he's in the house. Okay, let's get to the house. The owner of the house said that there was nothing missing in the house. Arbery constantly goes into this house and looks around. And the owner said there was nothing that he's been doing this for months. And every time he goes in there, it's on camera, and he takes absolutely nothing. This guy steals nothing. So let's let's look at this. The house itself, there's not even a door on it. It's not even fully constructed. You can look right through the house from outside to outside. This is a newly constructed, it's not even fully constructed. The wood beams are up. I mean, you can't, and people do this all the time. They go into houses to see how houses are being built. This is not a crime. Because people are like, he's committing a crime. He went in there to steal. He didn't steal anything. They said trespassing. There has to be a clear sign in some shape, form, or fashion to say you cannot enter into this home or on this land. There was no sign. The owner did not tell him not to do it. There was no, Arbery wasn't informed in any shape, form, or fashion not to walk into this home being constructed. Any one of us could have went in there, and none of us would have broke the law. The dispatcher asked, after McMichaels was saying that he was in there, the dispatcher said, well, what did he do wrong? So they're like, she said, we have somebody on their way, which should have been the end of it. But she said, well, what did he do wrong? Because he said, oh, there's a guy in there, he's a black guy with a white shirt on, and he's inside this house, and, it's not fully constructed. She said, what did he do wrong? Like, why are you calling us? Did he attack anything? Did he steal anything? No evidence of him stealing anything. He's been in there several times for months. He was not told not to go in there. So you have no reason to chase him down. There's no reason for you to pursue this person, chase him down. And you told the dispatcher that he was putting his hands in his pocket, so you think he has a gun. To shoot who? There's nobody there. Not to mention this open carry. He can have a gun on him if he wants to. That's not against the law. You guys got him. So you made an excuse to go and get your gun. Oh, we think he has a gun. We see cops do that all the time. Oh, I thought he had a gun, so I murdered him. Cops do it all the time and get acquitted and go on vacation. He was reaching. I don't know. Philando Castillo, his hands were, down, so Other people, Willie, the young 22-year-old rapper, they shot him while he was asleep. He was reaching. So 5 cops opened fired on his car. He didn't even know the police were there. McMichaels is an ex-cop and an investigator who knows Arbery. These two know each other. Obviously don't like each other. So, and they know each other because Arbery stole a TV wasn't out of a home. He stole, I don't know, out of a store or whatever, some years back. And so now it's getting clear to me that when Arbery stole that TV, and the father, McMichael, who is no longer a cop or an investigator, who was the investigating officer on the Arbery case. So that's how they know each other. There's obviously some bad blood there. You see Arbery, you recognize him. So in your mind's eye, this guy's a known criminal. This guy's stealing out of here. They had a gun or something stole from here. Didn't say Arbery did it. There was some other fishing equipment and stuff. Police didn't say Arbery did it. There's not one thing the police saying Arbery stole from this area. It's not one. You had thieves breaking into homes around there, and all of a sudden, the black guy did it. And that's exactly what happened. Oh, I know you. You stole a TV before, so I think you get it. And you know what? I can almost understand that. I can almost understand that. However, you didn't see him stealing anything. You know he stole a TV from years ago. People do dumb stuff all the time, and then they don't do them anymore. But you're like, this guy is a known thief, and he's walking into this house that the owner has him on camera several times before the McMichaels, before any of this. The owner knows this guy is coming into the house. He's fully aware of it. And every time the owner goes to the house, he sees that there's nothing taken. He has it on camera. This guy doesn't come, he doesn't go in there waving a gun. He doesn't go in there and trash stuff. He doesn't go in there and take anything. And some stuff he could have just snatched up and been out. None of that stuff is taken. There's a boat in there, I think. That's got stuff in it. And all he does is the same thing. Walk around. Not illegal. If you tell him not to do it and you're the owner, hey, do not come back here. And he comes back, trespassing. But the owner doesn't say anything to him. He doesn't hunt him down. He doesn't call the police and tell the police, this guy is constantly coming in my house. This didn't happen once. He's been going into this house. And they're like, we don't know why. Why do millions of Americans go into empty homes? We do it all the time because we want to see how a home is built or what's wrong with the home or, what's special about it. That's just human nature. But this kid took nothing. Just because there's crimes being committed in your area doesn't mean that the black guy did it. Just because you know that, you had an incident with him years ago doesn't mean that he's in there stealing anything. Look, they couldn't say not one thing that he stole. And some people are like, oh, he stole $2,500 worth of stuff. I'm like, prove it. Prove your case. Because the police didn't say that. The police said there's no record of him stealing anything. There's no record of, listen, the police said there's no record of thefts in that area. So this whole thing that they're conjuring up, the McMichaels talking about there's a bunch of thefts in this area, the police are like, we don't even know what you're talking about. This is the police investigating, saying, look, you said there were a bunch of thefts. Okay, fine. What was stolen? You're like, oh, a gun was stolen, some fishing. From who? Did anybody make a report? If somebody steals your gun, you have to report it. Because if they go out and do something, your name is on that weapon. You are attached to it. The police have no report. Show me a report. Somebody prove me wrong. The police said there were no string of burglaries in this area. And I'll actually pull up some of what they're saying, because when somebody said he stole $2,500 worth of stuff, I was like, well, let me look this up, and it's still no reason to impede the man and kill him. But we're just dealing with the trespassing, going into the house. There is no trespassing according to the Georgia law. He did not trespass because nobody told him not to go in here. So that's out. Theft. There was nothing reported stolen. Even the owner said there was nothing stolen in the house. They have him on camera going in there repeatedly. There's nothing being stolen. So that's out. So you called the police and you lied to them saying that he stole something, or you think he stole something. Then you illegally pursued him. So the whole citizen's arrest, that's thrown clear out the window. You're arresting somebody for something they didn't do. So that's out. All this stuff that these people are throwing out, oh, it's citizen's arrest. Oh, he did this, committed this crime. There's none of that. We're finding out that none of that is true. But they did know each other, and you're going to find out that is a big thing with this, because even in the Amber Geiger case, those two knew each other. Both of them, John and Amber Geiger, knew each other, and I think they knew each other very personally. And that woman lied on the stand. Okay, but let's go back to this. Police say no string of burglaries before Arbery shooting. So what are the McMichaels talking about? These are the very cops that they called. And I'll just read through some of it. Gregory McMichael and his son, Travis McMichael, reportedly told the police they were pursuing Ahmaud Arbery because he looked like a suspect involved in a string of recent burglaries. There were no recent burglaries. Glenn County police are questioning that assertion because local police reports show there was no string of burglaries, and the most recent report break-in happened weeks before Arbery was shot. Weeks. It had nothing to do with him. He wasn't the guy burglarizing people. He went into an open home, not trespassing. People do it all the time. He went in there at night, didn't take anything. He went in there during the day, didn't take anything until you spooked him, and then he ran off, and then you pursued him under false pretenses, saying you think he's the guy that stole something where clearly he didn't take anything, not even on camera. He took absolutely nothing. You're pursuing somebody who did nothing. You can't use stand your ground laws in this case either. You can't do it. Can't go, oh, I'm standing my ground. You're standing your ground against what? You're perpetuating a situation. It is illegal to perpetuate a situation, then pull out your gun, which you have the upper hand in kill a man. You cannot do it. People are like, stay in your ground laws. I'm like, the law's not clear. Well, the law is very clear. You are not allowed to cause a situation. You stopped him twice, not once. You rode up beside him and you tried to talk to him, and he avoided you. He went the other direction. And when we see three people who all have guns. One of them is in the back of the truck, the father. The other one's already standing on the road. And then the confrontation happened. That's the second time you confronted this man, meaning you've been following him and you've been tracking him down with intent. Made it very clear. And he attacked you because that was his only recourse. You kept following him so he couldn't go anywhere. You should have never got out the car. You should have just let the police come. You knew the police were on their way. You knew that. You're the one who called them. Now, I guess I could see some of this if Arbery was running down the street with a TV and it was your TV. It's your TV. It's not some random person's TV. It's your TV or your valuables or something like that. And you knew he was armed. You knew he was armed. I still can't say, listen, they tell you all the time, when you have a gun, rightfully in an open carry, when you have a gun, you are responsible for not and or getting yourself out of a confrontation before it even comes to using your weapon, because it can result in death. They let you know this very clearly. So when you get a gun and you're legally carrying it, they advise you, do not go and try to engage into a situation because, it can result in death. And that's very serious. These people did the exact opposite. In the stand your ground laws, it's very clear. You cannot perpetuate a situation. You cannot stand in front of somebody and block them twice. Get out the car with your gun in hand. You cannot legally block this person from proceeding to where they're going. And then when they react, you shoot and kill them. You're the one who caused them to react. That is illegal on every level. You cannot do that. Now, like I said, the only way I could see them getting into this type of confrontation is, like I said, if Arbery had something of theirs, and they both came running out the house. You know what I'm saying? Somebody broke into your house, had your thing, and had your revolver, and they're running out the house. You and your dad get in the truck and you pursue them. You're hoofing it. They're faster than you. We get it. He's young and in shape. This guy can run. You jump in the truck to pursue this guy. You should still call the police. But in the heat of, passion, plus this person's got your revolver and you're going after them, I can see that. You try to track him down in the truck. You get the edge up on him. You jump out with the gun because you know he has a gun and he just robbed you. He robbed you. He has your weapon. He just robbed you. I can almost see that, but I still go back to the basic one principle that every single American citizen has to do. We have a system that is in order, although it is flawed. We have a system in order. There is a such thing as citizen's arrest. And the law is very clear on citizen's arrest when it talks about you have to know this person did something. The law also will tell you somewhere in there, law by law, it'll tell you in there where to call the police because they're the ones who handle this. It'll tell you that. So the McMichaels stepped outside of these laws. They stepped outside of every law possible to stop this from happening. They did exactly the opposite of what they should have done. You call the police, you see the person, hey, he has a white shirt on, he's a black man, he's about, 5'11", 170 pounds, he's running down the street, and we're on so-and-so road and so-and-so road, and boom, I'm behind him with my dad in the truck, and we're just following him. We're looking right at him. He has a TV, and he's armed. He has a gun. Boom. Okay, if all of that's true, you're following behind him, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Boom. Police are coming. This is broad daylight, open road. The houses are, spread out. He's not even heading towards the bushes. I just don't even know what kind of thief he is. What kind of thief is going to go into a house? Broad daylight. Broad daylight. No, broad daylight. Now, bear with me. I'm trying to make sense of this. You go in a house broad daylight that you've been frequenting. You know there's a camera there because you looked up and you saw it. You go back to this same house with no kind of mask on. Nothing to hide. Matter of fact, you the baddest robber I've ever seen because you took your shirt off. You're running in and out of the same place constantly, and you have your shirt off. And you live miles from this area. According to what they're saying, you live 10 miles from here. So let's just add this up. You don't have a vehicle. You don't have a vehicle. You go into the same house constantly that has surveillance. Not only that, the house isn't even fully built, so anybody from the sidewalk to down the street can see you going in this house during the day. And all you have on is cargo pants. There is nothing that's going to fit pretty much in your pants besides tape and a couple pencils. And you got your shirt off and you're just in there and you take nothing. I'm just wondering what kind of thief is this guy? And then when you run away, because somebody said, hey, get out of there, which was none of their business because they're not the owner. Listen, if that was a white couple just looking around, they wouldn't have been videoing them and talking about some, hey, get out of there. They wouldn't have said a doggone thing because that's what people do. They walk into houses that are openly constructed. People do it all over America. That's what we do. We're nosy. We want to see. They wouldn't have said, hey, get out of there. No. Then start videotaping and call, a posse. It wouldn't have never happened. But you said, hey, get out of there. The sun is up. You see this kid. He gets out and he starts running. Automatically, you're guilty of something. I just don't get what kind of robber is going to head straight down the street, not going to try to conceal their face, You keep going into the same house. You don't try to conceal your face. You go in the house, you take your shirt off. You're walking in with your shirt off. You look up at the camera. There's nothing that this kid did that tells me you are an A1 thief. Had nothing in her hand. The owner said there was nothing missing. Constantly going in the house, nothing missing. And then you run down the middle of the street. I'm just confused. What kind of robbery did they think happened? But they called the police and said he had his hands in his pocket and he looked like he had a gun. That's something that the cops use to murder people. And we know that the McMichael father was a cop who knew Arbery. That's what they do. That's their excuse. Saying he had his hand in his pockets as if having your hand in your pockets is illegal. That's what they did now. That's what America has done. If the police walk up and talk to you and you have your hands in your pocket, they are allowed to shoot you and say he had his hands in his pocket. And then they find out that there was no gun whatsoever, but the cop is in fear of people having hands in their pockets. That's exactly what happened here. Oh, he had his hands in their pocket. Oh, we can shoot him now. Because when they go through all the red tape, they're going to say, well, he did have his hands in his pocket. We can shoot him. We can kill him. This is what they do. Police murder people senselessly, men, women, and children, by saying that they had their hands in their pocket. Oh, he had his hands in his pocket. That was it. He has hands in his pocket. That's what they do. Is like, and what else? I just had his hands in his pocket. That's all I needed to know. I feared for my life. How? Did he have a weapon? I don't know. He could have. He could have had a bazooka. So they call the operator and say he has his hands in his pocket. That's a dead man running down the street. Then you impede him twice. So all the laws that these people who are trying to sympathize with the McMichaels, all the laws that they're trying to use to say that they were in the right, the McMichaels made sure that all of those laws were thrown out according to Georgia. And you're welcome to look them up. Look them all up. Every single law that they're trying to use to protect the McMichaels themselves threw out the window. From the very beginning, they aided the prosecutor. To me, they aided the prosecutor in throwing it out the window. Or the defense. They aided the defense in throwing. And then you had two prosecutors who recused themselves. Then you have this woman. I don't even know what her name is. There was a shooting in the same place, except it was a white woman, and the police shot this mother of two, young children, because she was in a parking lot. And the police approached her, and she didn't want to talk to the cops. I want to talk to you, so she left. So the cops pursued her. This mother of two. White woman, doing nothing. And when the cops pursued her, she didn't want to get out the car or nothing. And they sandwiched her in like so, in her car sitting here, but facing them. The car's facing this way, and there's another car there. And they get out, and her car moves just like this. And they opened fire on that woman and obliterated her soul. They lit her up. And then the prosecutor threw the whole thing out. This is in the same area. So they are going to protect, and this type of thing also perpetuate. It says it's okay for us to shoot and kill people because we know we can get away with it. It's okay for us to kill a woman who has two children, and then lied and had this whole fake video of the three officers, because they said, well, the car could have ran us over, which when the real video came out, it wasn't even possible for that young lady to run them over because they put their car their late model, whatever that is, with traction control and positive traction and the doggone Vortex engine of 400 and some horsepower against this lady's. It was a freaking Chrysler, some 1985 model old car that was barely even putting along and barely even got out the doggone parking lot. This thing had probably, I had a car like that. I think it had like 200 horsepower. It isn't going nowhere. And they had it smashed up against the pole. And so, anything could have made this car go like this. Her putting her foot on the gas pedal and taking it off the brake, or putting it on the brake. You ever put your foot on the brake and the car slightly moves? You ever do that? Well, whatever. One of these things happened, and when that car moved, they blew this lady away. But these female prosecutor protected these cops to the letter. And they had a fake jury. They had a grand jury, and the evidence was never presented. To a grand jury. Grand jury wasn't even there. It was never presented. Whenever you hear something going to a grand jury when it comes to police, you better believe they're going to get acquitted. They're going to get acquitted because you can't take your evidence in there. So it's just one-sided. You can't, listen, when a cop kills somebody, you can't even talk to the cop for 30 days. You can't bother him. So we have a situation where you have corruption within within law enforcement. You've been working here for 20 years. You can say stuff like, oh, he had his hands in his pocket, so we think he has a gun. As soon as you mention gun, you can grab your guns and legally defend yourself. Come to find out he didn't have a gun. And so we know that everything is skewed in that direction, and we didn't even know about this case for 2 months. Why didn't we even know? Because they swept it right up under the rug as if this black man wasn't murdered broad daylight. Like, what? Nothing happened until that video came out. I mean, this is sad, because the whole making America great, America will never be great as long as you have law enforcement out there shooting and killing people, and people who think they're in law enforcement out there shooting and killing people, and the people get no justice. No justice. There's supposed to be laws that are upheld so everybody feels safe. You feel safe? Do you? Because I don't. I don't feel safe around the cops. I don't. Not one bit. I do not feel safe. Listen, if I'm at an event, and outing, outside, and a bunch of police show up, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Because every time I've been at an event, especially a black event, and a bunch of cops show up, they always take somebody and arrest them. They make an example out of them. I'm like, what did they do? They just start arresting people. I'm leaving. I don't trust them. I don't feel safe around them. And especially now that we know, look, there's a lady who just recently, this lady was an EMT and worked at a hospital. They went in their house claiming that they were looking for some drug dealer or whatever, and shot and killed the woman. And said that the woman was shooting back at them. And, I don't think so. Chicago cops went and shot a 15-year-old boy in the head. They also bust into these people's house, who was supposed to be a drug dealer in there, and went into the kid's room and shot one of them in the doggone leg. And then their defense attorney's gonna say, oh, he fell back, he slipped back, and his finger accidentally hit. You making excuses for the blatant crimes that they commit. Oh, and then his finger just happened to hit the trick. No. They're going to people's houses with M16s and shooting children. M16s. You know what an M16 will do to the body? I'm ex-military. That's what we had. We had M16s, or you guys call them AR-15s, but AR-15 is a less expensive version of an M16. Nonetheless, it can still do terrible damage. M16 is automatic though. It's just like I can't take it. So the McMichaels are guilty on every single level. And you can look up public law. You can look up Georgia law. You can look up, well, the GBI is investigating it. And I think the federal law is also investigating it. So you can look up all of these laws that they tried to use, the trespassing law, to see if Arbery really was trespassing. You can look up, as far as theft is concerned, you can look at the videos to see if he was stealing anything. You can actually probably look up Arbery's arrest record, to see if there was anything that he had stolen within the last couple weeks or whatever involved in this case. And I say the last couple weeks because the police went back to the last couple weeks and said there was nothing stolen in the last couple weeks. And what was stolen, it probably had nothing to do with him, meaning they didn't link what was actually stolen to Arbery. So if they say Arbery stole this a couple weeks ago, then I can understand the fear. I can even look, if you have neighborhoods, people steal stuff out of neighborhoods all the time. I mean, that's just it. Especially nice neighborhoods. Come on, we got NBA players getting robbed, people coming in their house and robbing them in front of their family. LL Cool J beat up a guy who came into his house to rob him. You know, he's got his wife and daughters there. He beat the hell out of that man. We got NBA players, we got rich guys getting robbed all the time. So, okay, people get robbed all the time, B. You know, it is what it is. But when you blame a string of robberies on one person and you have no evidence of this, none. All you have is something that happened years ago between you two, but you have no evidence that this person is stealing something, in the process of stealing something, or has stole something from this area. You have no evidence, but you're up and on edge because there's robberies happening in your neighborhood. Guess what? You're sitting in jail now, and guess what's happening? There's probably robberies in your area. Arbery's dead, you're in jail, and somebody is going to get robbed in your area because he wasn't the thief you were looking for. And I'm betting 10 to 1 that they already knew this. I bet they knew this. I don't think this has anything to do with robbery. I don't think at all that it has anything to do with robbery. I think it goes back to something between Arbery and the father, McMichael. I don't know what his first name is. I think they obviously had bad blood because they've known each other for years. These are not strangers, just, in happenstance. There's so much to unpack here. The public only gets what the news gives us and then the police reports and the internet. But when you start piecing things together, and you start listening to the mother, and then you start listening to the neighbors, and then just start telling stories, and you're just like, well, wait a minute. Then you start looking at facts like the police report. You're just like, well, what you guys are saying is totally untrue. The reason why you pursued him is completely untrue. Like, wait a minute. Like, you guys have no grounds. You guys have no grounds whatsoever to pursue this person and stop him in the middle of the street. You have none. They had no grounds whatsoever. It was all speculative, and you can't do that. You can't do that and it end up in murder. Look, they couldn't even do that and stand in front of the guy and impede him legally. Arbery could have pressed charges against him for that because it's kidnapping. You can't do it. So they don't have, there's no stand your ground law in this case. And you guys can look up the stand your ground law. These guys cannot use that in any shape, form, or fashion. They can't do it. They would have had a chance. They would have had a chance if Arbery would have randomly attacked them. meaning if they didn't impede. So you are saying that this incident was exactly, exactly. I mean, when you start adding, look, I'm getting the information like you are, but when you really start thinking about it, these two people knew each other. You're just like, this isn't happenstance whatsoever. This isn't two random folks. And that's the way it seemed at the beginning. It seemed like it was a mistaken identity. It seemed like it was you mistook a burglar and this guy's running down the street and he's guilty of robbing someone, actually you. When you first heard the story, you thought the two people who killed this black man, you were like, they were in the right. After you saw the video, they were in the right. He attacked them. And then when they started coming out with the burglary, you were just like, oh, he's a thief. Oh, he was stealing something and running away. It turns out that it's just not the truth. It's not the truth. The guy is not a what's going on? You still live? Yeah, I do. A while back, you made a video about how you left Atlanta. Yeah, that's how most people know me, is my how I left Atlanta videos. I haven't lived in Atlanta for a long time. I still live in Ohio, and now I'm thinking about buying a house out here. So I'll probably stay. See, I wanted to go back to Atlanta, actually. I wanted to live in Kennesaw, but I can't afford it. And speaking of Kennesaw, you know, if you live in Kennesaw, you have to own a gun. You have to. Such a beautiful place to live. Such a beautiful place. I thought I was going to be making a lot more money, so I wanted to live out there. I don't know what that stands for. But anyway, so the stand your ground laws, they can't even use a stand your ground law. So it's just going to be. Here's what I think is going to be the end result of this. Here's what I think. For one, I don't think that we should just be concentrating on this and not concentrating on, like, the man who just got shot at Walmart, the black man just by the police with a smile on his face. The cops just blew him up. Breonna Taylor, Tone, wake up, bro. What about Breonna Taylor? Okay, wake me up then. Tell me about it. But we should need to focus on that. We had, like I said, a lady just got killed in her house by the police. Somebody needs to stop the police shootings. And I mean, they don't need to go on vacation and then this long drawn out process of the taxpayers. Somebody needs to go in and just put it into this, because this people are being murdered all the time and it's just ridiculous. And we need cops, but if we don't have good cops that we can trust, because, you know, there's a lot of people who are afraid of police. If we don't start, making them accountable for what they do and just letting them keep doing this blatant murder, it's just a matter of time before, nobody cares about the law. Nobody's going to care. She got shot in her house. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. She got shot in her house with her boyfriend while they were sleeping. Was that the recent one? See, when I see these stories, I don't really get into their names too much. She was, damn. See, listen, and then with this whole coronavirus, the EMT worker, damn, 28 times. See, I'm sorry, I don't know, but I just can't trust them. I don't. You should not have that power to take somebody's life and just brutally, archaically, just murder them outright and then go home and eat tabbouleh salad. You can, if with no conscience, with a clear conscience, like, yeah, it happened. So what? We had the wrong house. You can't do that. And the reason why I talk about the police so much is because McMichaels was a cop. Her man had a registered gun. You damn right. You come into my house. You bust into my house. have the right to stand my ground. Now that's standing your ground 100%. Now he's in custody. Man, that's standing your ground. You come into my house, guns are blazing. See, there's a way to do that. There's a way to call something, but if they're raiding you, if they're just going to raid your house, they're just going to bust in because they have the firepower and you don't. And then when somebody dies, it's like, oh, well, you guys were shooting at it. Yeah, because you raided my house. It's just terrible. I think Black Americans should consider moving. Yeah, I talked about, we don't know, but leave. Yeah, I talked about that. I got family member who he does some traveling, and he's been telling me to, get out of the country and stuff like that. Because he's scared too. And we're both veterans. We fought for this country, and we are scared to death of the everyday, beat cop. We see what's happening. We're just afraid. We're afraid because the law is not helping us. There's no way a armed militia can just bust in your house and just slaughter you. And that's what they're doing. And you can't protect yourself. And then you get kidnapped and taken away from your family even more. Listen, this is brutal. This is ugly on every end. And I'm going to tell you something. There's some people, here's what I don't like. I don't like when, in the McMichael's case, people are like, oh, these were just God-fearing Americans protecting their area. And I'm just like, where do you get that from? See, this is somebody who will not listen to the facts. And that's the problem with a lot of people. They have one side and they will not go into the facts. They will not read the law. They don't care about the law. They're just like, oh, he's right and you're wrong. It's just like, no, listen, if Arbery was wrong, if he broke into somebody's house and was running down the street with their gun in hand, hey, listen. Or if he broke in your house, found your gun, and opened fire on you, I would have torn him a new one. I would have blew him out the door. I don't have no problem with protecting yourself. But that's not what happened. We're not looking at people protecting themselves. These are not people protecting their area. That's not what this is. Because that's what the police force is for. The police protect your area. Listen, my area out here, if I see somebody trying to steal something out here, I'll walk outside and say something to them because I've seen it before. And I'll walk outside, I'll be like, yo, not over here, get on out of here with that. And I'm not a small person, so, they at least take heed. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Adams. So they at least take heed, like we know that there's an old man who lives in this area, and he's watching, and I do. I'm watching. I didn't see my neighbor run into my other neighbor's car and look around to see if anybody saw it. And I was like, yo, I saw you. You go tell him what you did, and you owe that man some money because you tore his bumper off. Don't act like you ain't do it. Like, that's who I am. Like, that's protecting your area. I get that 100%. But that's not what the McMichaels did. Getting 3 more Russians and oh, okay. Shotgun, only 2 pistols, not enough. I'll tell you what, man. When you start investing in protection, you also know that a life the propensity for a life to be taken is great. I mean, you have to think about that responsibility. If you're ready to take a life, and that's what you're ready to do, then if you have to, I said to hide them. Listen, things getting a little crazy around here. My neighbors got guns, and they let me know because of my size. I mean, my one neighbor let me know, he's like, listen, I wouldn't fight you. And I know he got guns. And he's pretty much telling me if we got into it, he would go and draw his gun. Now, of course, I'm looking at that in two different ways. One, you respect my size and strength because they see me moving refrigerators. They know I'm that weak. That's for one. Two, why would it even come to that? Because we've been neighbors for the longest time, and never once have we had an argument. They know I am a very humble person. I am not looking to fight with anybody because I just want to live. I done seen some of what's on the other side of acting up. I don't want no part of it. I don't want my freedom taken away. I don't want my money taken away. I don't want to live on the street. I've been there. I've been flat broke and not knowing where my next dime is coming from, living in somebody's basement, sleeping outside on a bench. I've been there. I'm not interested in none of that, but I'm not going to let you mess with me. So, I mean, they respect my size. Everyone around here respects my size. And, I had to get some respect from a couple people, but I got it. They talking about mandatory vaccines by the end of the year. Think you talked about Tone and the military is going to be involved. Now, you talk about the COVID-19 stuff. I warned you guys about that. I warned you guys about that whole thing. And it's just not good. The country's opening up, and we are not. The American people are going to be caught between two armies. Okay, you know how you watch Game of Thrones and there was all these armies, right? There were all these armies. And you had your heart into one or the other army because you figured they were either good and you liked them or they were bad and you liked them. But there was something about them that you liked. You were like, if I lived in Game of Thrones, I want to be a Baratheon, and blah, blah, blah. Well, here, in your reality in the USA, you are already in an army. You're in the army of the people. You're in the army of the free people, actually. Now, then you have the military, of course. They have orders. They operate by orders. You don't have orders. Your order is to get up and live every day and to survive. That's what your order is. Your modus operandi is to survive every day the best way you can. Everything else is just gravy. If you got up today and you go to bed tonight comfortably, then boom, you did your job. You survived. Everything else is just gravy. Then you have the militia. Now, I live in Ohio. So there's a militia actually here. There's one 5 hours from here, east. I don't know. Michigan. I think Michigan is north. I think they're north from here. Heading up towards Toledo, Cleveland, I don't know. So you have, the militia, and they are ready for anything. And so, you have those three armies. The militia and the free people are not the same. Because you have the free people who are, a lot of them are unarmed. Even if they are armed, they're not walking around with army-esque uniforms. They're not training like an army. They're not heavily armed like the militia are. They're just people who have a house gun. They might have a pistol. They might have a shotgun. Those people aren't thinking as radical as the militia are. The militia are anti-government. If the government is going to take something over, the militia is there to try to stop them. You come to my door and there's going to be an issue. So don't come to my door unarmed because, that's the militia. And you got the free people, which are just us. We might have a gun or two or slingshot or whatever we're going to use, but our minds are not anti-government. We're actually hoping the government works for us. But when the government turns on us, we are really not prepared to go to war with the government. We're not as prepared as the militia. So you got All these people live in the same country, but all of them are under different subsections of war. And you choose where you are, because I don't know if any of you are in a militia or not, or in the military. But if you're not in the militia and you're not in the military, then you are of the people. That's the army that you're in. And that's the way it's going to be separated. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. You're going to be caught in between people who are government and anti-government. People who are following orders and people who are completely against those orders. And you might have to pick a side. But you know, if the government comes and starts snatching people, listen, we already see what the police are doing. They can just come into anybody's home and do anything to them. They shot that woman 28 times. They're shooting children. They're shooting baby mothers. They shot Gaines. Where was she at? She was in Chicago, I think, or Detroit, one of those. They shot her up all over license plates. They stopped her because she did not have a registered vehicle. So they stopped her car. There's a whole video. She made a whole video. And she had she had a little boy and a little girl in the backseat. Little boy was 4 years old. You know what I'm saying? And she was just like, no, I don't have to register my car. Here's a news flash. You do not have to register your car, according to the federal government. But you do it because you don't want what happened to Gaines to happen to you, which is completely illegal. It's like a bunch of gang members running around. If you don't register your car, they can have it towed. That's illegal. They can come in and harass you, put you in jail, write you all kind of tickets. All of it is illegal because you don't have to register your vehicle. Tell me what law says that you have to register your vehicle. Just enlighten me on what law it is. But you do it because you know if you don't, you're going to get harassed in a bunch of tickets. And you're going to keep getting harassed and keep getting harassed and keep getting harassed. Well, she didn't register her vehicle. So they had a warrant out for her arrest. She's like, I'm not going to do it. Now, she had made a video of her with a gun in her hand, a shotty. So when they saw that video on YouTube, when they went to her house, they went in full gear. The regular cops did not show up. The jump out boys showed up. And they busted in and they killed that woman like it was nothing because they were fearing for their lives. Instead of come out, we know you're in there, which they shouldn't have even been at her house in any shape, form, or fashion. This is not what the police are supposed to do. This is not policing. They didn't help anyone. They even shot the 4-year-old boy and wouldn't let the family members talk to the little boy while he was in the hospital. They blocked off the area where he was. It's like, this is not what we hired you for. We hired you to protect the area, not to go and shoot a mother of 2 infants, pretty much. A toddler and an infant. A little girl don't even know what happened. She doesn't have a mom anymore. This is not what we pay our, money to have you do. But what are you going to do? They are the biggest gang in the country. To me, they're probably the biggest gang, period. You can't do anything. I'm going to read some of your comments. I'm going to try to. My eyes are... Okay, so I'm struggling here. All right. Okay. People can confront you and accuse you of someone else. It has happened to me. This is true. Luckily, the person realized, that you wasn't that person. Yeah, that happens all the time. But I've been accused of stuff and they knew it wasn't me. I'm going to tell y'all a story about that in a minute. Getting some land and start gardening. Yep, because you also were right about the food. You've been really listening to me. You've been really listening to me. Who you with, Tone? Being that you were, oh no, I'm not with the service. The only way, let me get to this before I get to my story. The only way I would side with the military, only way, is if it was uniformed men and women who were against the vaccination. Now, I wanted to say this. There are always groups of people who are not, who are in the military or have been in the military, and they are against the government. They're against the wars for oil. They know that it's all blood money. They know that it's all a lie. They went over there and murdered people. Some of the people got murdered. Some of them were seriously wounded. They know that the whole thing is a lie. There are people who are just like, it's a lie. We went over there and we were surrounding oil wells in Iraq. We didn't go over there for Saddam Hussein. We went over there for the oil, Gaddafi, oil. We went over there and stole what was theirs in order to keep our country, going. It had nothing to do with, somebody who was trying to cause harm to us. And now we're in Iran. Right now, we're sitting in Iran, American soldiers in Iran, armed, ready. And the Iranians are like, what are you doing in our country? Well, we invaded. That's what we did. And we don't care what you have to say because we'll wipe you out. We spend, 500 billion on weapons. We have the largest army that there is, weaponry. That there is. We don't have the largest army. We have the most weaponry. So what are you going to do about it? You know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous. Now, as far as people blaming you for something that you did or mistaken identity, I had somebody blame me for something I did, and I clearly did not do it, but I got punished for it. I used to work for a company called CPI Photo Finish, turned into Fox Photo. And basically, you just develop pictures or whatever. And we worked in the mall, a little mall job. I was proud of my job, though. I went every day. I was on time. I was proud of my little job. And basically, it was 1, 2, 3 of us that worked there. We had my manager was a woman. She was cool. I was cool with her, knocking stuff out. And then one day she was like, yeah, I'm leaving. Then the other guy I worked with, he was like, yeah, me too, man. He's like, yeah, I'm leaving too. Real Rich. Rich was like, I'm getting married. This chick used to come in all the time and talk to him. I was like, Rich, that's your wife, man. He's like, nah, I don't like her. They're married today. Okay, so this is a long time ago, and they're married today. But anyway, so the main manager was leaving, the assistant manager was leaving, and another guy was leaving. So when those two were leaving, it was pretty much at the same time, and the new manager came in. So he came in, some guy, looked around, assessed the place, see who all was working there. And basically, he's like, I'm going to take all of you to dinner. So we were like, cool. It was in the mall, Max and Irma's right down the hall. So we closed up for the day, and we were all walking down to Max and Irma. He was like, so he fell back and he said, Anthony, come here. And, I was just like, okay, what's up? He's the new manager. Boom. He's like, yeah, there were $300 missing out of the drawer today, and I think you did it. And I was just like, well, I didn't do it. He said, you're fired. That was it. There's nothing I could do. I got fired for something I didn't do. Turns out that same piece of trash, what he did was he took the money, and he took the money and some more money, and what he did was skip town because his wife had cancer and he wanted to get away from her. So he stole the money and jumped on a plane and disappeared. True story. So there's that. People do wicked things. I never looked back, though. It hurt me, but I was just like, I just kept going, I just kept going. I said, well, time for me to find something else to do. Not to mention, why didn't you call the police? You thought I stole $300 out of the drawer. Should have called the cops. No cops called, because he's the one that took the money. So, it is what it is. Probably later on this evening, I'll do a coronavirus video. I'm really tired right now. Maybe about 6 or 7 o'clock after I close my eyes for a while. Maybe about 7 o'clock or so. I'll go ahead and do a coronavirus video, and you guys seem to like those. And I'll look up some information, so I'm just not saying the same doggone thing without having some purpose to it, you know. And as far as planting and doing stuff like that, I was talking to somebody about that yesterday. That I need to go out and get plants again, but I have been saving my money. I've been working hard for it too. I've been working hard to save what I get. That's what I've been working hard to do. So I have been saving, my little bit of change, my couple of pennies. I got some pennies over here. I've been saving. Woo-hoo! So I've been saving my little pennies to, because I'm really thinking about buying some property. And I've been looking at, I can't afford a big old house or nothing like that. I can't. But maybe a mobile home, I could afford a payment on one of those. Just getting some land that's mine. Getting somewhere where the backyard, if I got a mobile home and about 2 acres, or an acre, just getting somewhere where it's mine, fenced off, it's mine. And you can't tell me what I can't plant there because I own it. Not I'm renting it, I own it. And then, start laying down some potatoes and radishes. And I don't eat radishes, but green beans, tomatoes, and maybe an apple tree or something. But maybe some cabbage, carrots, just stuff that, especially potatoes, stuff that I can grow and it'll sustain life, sustain me real good in case we can't, and that, it'll germinate real good too. Yearly, and that I could eat and everything, just in case things start really going awry. I can still plant food and maybe even build a little greenhouse or something like that. I'm just trying to think progressively. I also been looking at buying a generator. An electric generator. I was talking about this before. It just wouldn't hurt to have a way to produce electricity other than through the power system, because if they cut the power, then you're in the dark. You got your flashlight, and you got to wait till daylight, but you're not producing light. You need to still eat. You need to produce heat, in case it's cold. It's going to get cold. And so a solar generator, I think we went over that, is the best way to go. But $2,000 is expensive. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't got that to throw around. But some of you might. You can get a gas generator, but you're dependent upon gas. You can make your own gas out of corn or pigs, So if you're really smart, you can use vegetables and make gas out of that. Toss that, in there, and boom, then you're always good. And then there's solar, and then of course there's an electric generator. I think that runs off electricity. I know that you can also connect generators. So the ones that you can pick up like so, you can connect those wire using one wire to another and connect those and get twice the voltage, I guess is what it is, because some of them are 22 to 2400, so you can boost that up, if you connect both of them. So that's a thing, just in case some of you are, I don't know what you're going to run, but also buying some land and maybe just getting yourself a good SUV and a camper, because there's some places that these people don't have a zip code. They're just rolling. There's people living in their vans, cars, trucks, and they're okay. I know one lady who's doing it right now. She makes YouTube video. I know a few of them, and they make YouTube videos about it. And sometimes they don't. There's one I know, she doesn't even talk about it. She talks about other stuff going on in, socially. She doesn't really focus on living off the grid, but she mentioned it because somebody had said something to her about finances, and you're living off the grid and blah blah blah. You don't have the money. And she was just like, I just paid my landlord $80,000 just to get out from under him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I paid him $80,000 to get out from under whatever contract. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I have money. I choose to live like this. So you have that whole scenario. But yeah. So I'm just starting with the basics of what can I do? Where can I go? There's a lot of area around here where I think it's still for sale. But this area is building up a lot. So anyway, so I'll come back tonight and talk about coronavirus and do a little research and talk to you guys, all right? Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it. Bye.